Welcome to PopXcast, a podcast that brings together the worlds of pop culture and science fiction in a way that breathes life into our inner child. From nostalgia to all things retro, pop culture news, film reviews, and the Retro Rewind, we explore all realms of geeky goodness. So find your comfy spot, top off your glass, and don't forget those pizza rolls in the air fryer because it's time for PopXcast. You are listening to PopXcast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Here we go!
PopXcast.
I was born in it, molded by it.
PopXcast. No strings on me. Autobots, transform! I'm Batman. By the power of Grayskull! PopXcast.
We're doomed.
Goal here at Tyrell, more human than human is our motto.
Here's Johnny. Never had a pet pony.
Hasta la vista, baby.
PopXcast.
Captain's log supplemental.
Negasonic Teenage. What the
I am the one who knocks.
Excelsior! And Excelsior, welcome everyone. My name is Joseph Burke. And guys, go ahead and unmute your microphones. Come on in. Let's talk about the Thunderbolts. It is good to be back, not only on PopXcast, but guys, this is episode 150 on one of the biggest days in fandom history. May the 4th be with you. But lest we forget, tomorrow is the revenge of the 5th. But today, may the 4th be with you.
I love it. Makes me feel good.
Hello.
I was just waiting to see if Jeremy was going to talk. I was just going to see.
Just
going
going
to wait to see if he says anything. Man, Jude, how have you guys been since we last did our podcast? I mean, I have been like, I feel like my life has been going 1,000 miles a minute with no stop whatsoever. It's been crazy.
It's nonstop.
Well said.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
my life's been hectic. Yeah, listen, man. There's a lot happening. Maybe not a lot of pop culture things happening right now. I think we're just now getting into, the Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Superman portion of the season, and you're going to see a lot more of us then. But in general, Joe, and you can attest to this, life is just hectic right now for everyone, man. It's madness.
And I feel like everybody that I've talked to, specifically going outside of the world of pop culture, outside of the world of fandoms, I think specifically there is just a lot of crap going on in a lot of people's lives right now, and they need shows like this more now than ever, because I think for a lot of us, that's one of the reasons why we're here on PopXcast, and that's why we're talking about the Thunderbolts tonight on the movie review. I think that people need something to gravitate to and gravitate towards. Yeah. And for us, a lot of us, and Jeremy and Austin can agree with this, and you all, everybody in the YouTube chat right now, you guys are rocking it. Love you guys so much. And you guys are a testament to what geek fandom can do for you and your mental health. And I think this is such a huge thing for us to rally around, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, it doesn't matter. We're all just passionate about something, and that's amazing. But really quickly, guys, I just want to give a really quick second and just pause about 150. I remember many times Austin and I would be doing this show with Lindsay Badger, and Austin was in his dorm room in college, barely had like 1 bar of Wi-Fi signal, and he's trying to get on my stream. If you go back and look in the archives, don't do it. I'm a little embarrassed by but I left the complete 150 on here on this channel, But I will say this much, you guys. If you go back and look at it, it's just like some of it's like, come on, Austin, get your Wi-Fi going. Come on, Austin, that 2.4 gigahertz, you got to do it, Austin.
Oh,
yeah.
it was so bad, man.
Dude, seriously,
people,
though.
they would get on my YouTube comments because I would make videos in my YouTube dorm, and so the brick walls behind me, they would ask me, "Dude, are you in prison?"
Oh my God!
Because it looked like,
are you serious?
It looks like I was literally in prison, and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, where are you?" Because it was such a just blank, horrible, Wi-Fi-less, colorless environment, and I just remember those days, man. It was
hard.
Such a hassle
Yeah.
doing any sort of live stream, but we tried our best to make it work every weekend, man, and it was sometimes, man, college would get so hard, it was like the highlight of my week, so
Yeah.
I'm very grateful we've been doing this for years and years
I'm
now.
grateful for you, Austin, and I'm grateful to have Jeremy Stoltz here too. I want to have a little conversation with him. Jeremy, I mean, when did you first find out about PopX? Was it through like Lindsay Badger or just through what we did?
Yeah, it was while we were on Haps, and you guys started talking about it on the show, and then I started catching up on it. So I'm trying to remember which, off the top of my head, like what was had to have been in the 30s, somewhere in the 130s.
30s. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Well, if you guys don't know, tonight we're going to dedicate the entire episode to the entire Badger family. I just think that, this show and its continuation would not be what it is today without the blood, sweat, and tears of our late friend, Lindsay Badger, who was such an integral part of getting PopX off the ground and helping me in those early days in 2015 and 2016. And so here we are. We started this process in 26. We're coming up on 9 years, guys, of doing this. Wow. So lending out all of my love, all of my every fiber of my being. I love it. So with that said, are you guys ready to talk Thunderbolts?
Oh yeah,
because I am ready. We're going to hit the ground running. We're not even going to do anything in between. We're just going to go straight up Thunderbolts tonight. And you guys are going to freaking love it, so I hope you guys stick around. But before we do that, we got to roll the spoiler alert warning, because if you've not seen the Thunderbolts, you might want to hit the pause button and come back. But after this, we'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
Danger. You are about to enter a PopX spoiler alert. Beyond this point, there is no return. You have been warned.
All right, you have been warned. And here we go. We got a little music on in the background. We're going to do a little Thunderbolts conversation right here, right now. And let's talk about the expectation going into the theater. Let's just go back to the infancy of that expectation. I want to start with Austin. What was your expectation of this movie? Because I had seen some reviews online that was comparing it even better to Endgame. Yeah, I'm sure you have seen those articles as well. And questionable sourcing on some of the websites. But what was your expectations going in before you even saw the first frame of the film?
I was excited. A lot of it due to the trailers. It almost gave off an independent film, A24 movie type of vibe. They even came out and said we model our trailer after the A24 independent movie types of things we don't often get in Marvel. And the director of this movie did a little independent project on Netflix called Beef, which was, kind of the essence of what this film is built off of. It's the exploration of character. And while at the time when they made that announcement, it didn't really click in my brain, Thunderbolts is going to be a character study, diving deep into the pasts of these anti-heroes and exploring what makes them tick. Like, I didn't put two and two together, so I'm like, that's a weird pairing, but I'm excited. Then all the reviews come out, and everybody's hyping it up to be the next big thing. And while it's hard to go into a movie with those expectations, and sometimes I think it's a little overkill, the idea that this was going to work was there walking into the theater, and I walked out thinking, yeah, that worked as a exploring these individual characters as opposed to building up to what we see in the Avengers movies as this big event film. It's really just a movie about a bunch of messed up guys and girls that find themselves while finding each other, and that's a really cool thing to see in a Marvel movie, man.
And I think it's not been done. I mean, that's the thing, it's not been done to this point yet. Character exploration, but character exploration that is not apologetic in the content and the pain that is represented by some of the characters. And we'll get into that a little bit later as we talk about Bob and Yelena and some of these iconic characters who've gone through some pretty hard stuff. I mean, even John Walker has went through, has had it. So, Jeremy, what was your expectations going in? I mean, you got the full cinematic IMAX experience. What was the hype going on prior to going in?
I went into it realizing that we've had a few years with each of these characters. They've all shown up in different forms in different movies and whatnot, and several of them have had some interactions. Well, most of them were all complete unknowns to each other.
Yep.
For the most part, and just seeing the mix of chemistry and their background, like you said, where they were all bringing something with them that kind of set on their shoulder, and then they had to figure out a way to make it all work,
to manage it. Yeah,
but it was a good. My expectations were a little above midline.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to go in with too much and then be disappointed.
And I have to agree, and I'm going to piggyback off what you just said. Midline, we're a little bit better than midline. I think going in right, because the next movie coming out, as we all know, Fantastic Four, is going to be the big blockbuster for Marvel Cinematic Universe this coming summer. But I think for me, I felt that the lot needed to be riding on this film. It needs to set up some dynamic, and we need to see part of the MCU that we probably not had a chance to explore yet. And I think this was a great interim movie, perhaps, kind of a great way to just kind of segue into something that's coming a lot bigger down the road. And I think that Thunderbolts was just kind of that perfect transition coming off of Captain America Brave New World and coming into Fantastic Four. And this is kind of the year of the cinematic comic book blockbuster. I mean, kind of going off tails for a minute, we got Superman coming up in July, which is a lot is riding on that for DC and Warner Brothers. So, but anyway, talking back to the whole anticipation hype of going to the theater, I think for me it was a little bit more than above average. But I also want to kind of take a moment and just kind of reflect a little bit back on the opening bits and how the dialogue with Yelena. I think it was poignant that we started the film with Yelena, and also we kind of almost ended in a way with Yelena with her full story arc. I kind of feel like, in a secret way, the director made Yelena's story arc. She got closure after the events of Black Widow from this film. She finally got the closure that she needed. And I think for some aspects, whether it was a John Walker, what was that, Secret Wars he was in? Was that what was that? It was
Captain Bucky.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah. It was weird. It was such a weird, and I think that was the one that they shot during the pandemic that they had to dump down.
And it felt like it.
Yeah. So it was good to see his story arc too. And what was some highlight moments for you, Austin? I'll go back with you. What were some highlight moments that really stood out in Thunderbolts? Like, was there some character developments or some scenes or some topics that was covered within the film that just truly just hit it? And I want to ask the chat too, in the live chat, what was some things that you truly thought was great about this film? What was the highlight for you?
The best part of the movie for me was obviously Yelena, starting with her, and that stunt that she did, actually jumping off that building, which is really cool.
Incredible.
Little Tom Cruise. Essence there, which I liked. But man, this is secretly like a father-daughter movie, because we really start off with Yelena and her dad, just his messy house, and hasn't really been productive over the last year, hasn't talked to his daughter. She talks about later on in the movie how lonely she is, crying to her dad. I'm like, oh man, we're getting way more emotional than I expected in a very, small Marvel movie. But I love the father-daughter aspect of this, and the fact that they're on a team together, and his just he brings the humor, injects the humor into almost every scene, but it's not that typical schlocky, maybe like Thor: Love and Thunder humor that's kind of out of place. I think Alexi's humor is almost every single scene, it's hitting the mark. He brings especially when the movie gets a little too dark, and sometimes it's like, oh, I can't believe they're going that dark. He'll say something to lighten the moment and maybe make the mood a bit better, as opposed to taking you out of the film like we've seen in other Marvel movies. And so I thought but what both of those characters bring, and then how they come together, and a beautifully emotional scene between them at the end, that's my favorite aspect of the movie. And we get most of the exploration of their past is with Yelena, and so like you said, Joe, I think
she's
you hit the nail on the head. This is a full. This is a character arc through and through for her specifically, and that's I didn't expect that. That's sweet.
Well, she also kind of ended the movie whispering in her ear, it's just like, we own you now. Because for so long, this band of misfits have been working in the shadows. They've been shadow ops for the Ox Foundation. And so it is so cool because now Valentina has no choice to publicly, and so it's what she didn't want to do is what she has to do now. But I think, and I want to get to Jeremy on this. Jeremy, be thinking about just a really good, impactful moment that just kind of hit you from the film. I think for me, it was definitely, Yelena's story arc had so much depth to it, and I kind of wish they would have went a little bit more with Ghost, but we saw a lot of that struggle in Ant-Man 2 with Ghost's struggle, but I think for me, Yelena at the heart of this film, and also a little bit of Bucky, because remember when they're all in the garage and Bucky's got them all chained up, and he's like, I get it, guys, I've been where you are. And he's like, 90 some years of it, and it's just like, it's a perfect example of a guy, is just freaking Hydra, all of that brainwashing and the numerology and the codes. You all seen Winter Soldier, you know what I'm talking about. I just think that was a really nice story arc, because he's no longer a congressman by the end of the movie, isn't he? Because wasn't there a line that says that you're no longer that? You only had a while.
Well,
it was like 3 month term. Didn't I hear that?
I read on Twitter. So she says that, but I think that was her threatening him that he's not going to be alive. This.
Okay.
Yeah, but so no one actually has proof if he is or not by the end of the movie, but no one figured out, okay, was she just threatening him, or is he actually not a congressman anymore?
I'm sure after this, and after being tied to Valentine, I'm sure this is not going to be good for his political career.
He's the new Avengers, baby.
He is. So it was just, I was reading over in the chat room also the fact that Yelena had to not like the mirrors now. Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, she hated mirrors in Black Widow, didn't she? Wasn't there like a reference to the mirrors in one of those movies? I can't remember. I have to maybe go back.
And that scene where she reappears from the snap, she's looking at herself in a mirror.
That's right.
When she first appears.
That's right. Her whole life has been like that. That's really a good play on just using symbology to just carry over that tone. So getting into the kind of the meat and potatoes of the whole plot, basically the group, the enemy of the villain of the entire movie is literally in front of them the entire time, and he becomes this, I don't want to say fifth person, because Taskmaster. Yeah. Should we even talk about, why is Taskmaster even on the poster?
5 minutes.
Why?
If I had to make a guess, the backlash that they had when they brought her out as a character and all the stuff about, supposed to have been a male character and blah, blah, this could be their way of just getting rid of her on screen and then introducing a new Taskmaster in a later film.
I could see that.
I could see that. I was okay with with Taskmaster being female.
Same.
Because it doesn't matter to me. You got a female Silver Surfer coming in, which is a different person in that universe, but it's a different character altogether. But honestly, I think if the female can command the role, and there's a lot of great females in Hollywood right now that is doing a phenomenal job. I'm not really picky about
Even the character of Ghost, they did the same thing with. The Ghost in the comic books is actually a male character as well. So it's like I said, she I couldn't see anyone else in that role right now.
Yeah, rest in peace,
Well, in the
Taskmaster.
first draft of this movie, they had her and Ghost developing a relationship apparently, and she was supposed to be well into the film before she even got killed off. I mean, she was always going to get killed off, but she was going to have a role, and so. And there's even a trailer out there where she is in the scene later on in the movie where they fight Sentry. And obviously they did that for the trailer. But it's interesting to me that when was she written out? Was it early on? Was it later?
Marvel is sneaky. Marvel is very sneaky.
Yeah, they are.
I will say this much, and this is what I know just from living here in Orlando and Atlanta. When Marvel films, this is what they do. This is how sneaky Marvel is. They will put people and characters in costume and let them walk around sets. And there's people that's always out there photographing around the film set. Mm-hmm. They'll put characters in there that will never appear in the film.
That's
True
hilarious.
story. Marvel trolls the press, and they do it all the time. All right, so let's talk. Let's talk about Bob. We got to talk about Bob.
Bob.
I think honestly, we talked about it, Yelena, but I think Bob at the forefront is the hero anti-hero of the entire movie, because we see his character arc develop to where you talk about a man that's been pushed down by society, a man who struggles with mental health. I think we all can relate to that on some aspect. I deal with mental health, and we've got this guy who is just at his lowest of low, has been addicted to meth, and his just literally the only reason he got into this program is he was trying to get the next fix. He was trying to find the next drug. And Valentina saw that as an opportunity, as we got this weak guy, he's wanted to try this drug, and lo and behold, her version of this. Is it made clear what the serum is? Is this a super soldier serum, or is this something that she's manufactured on her own? That's what I couldn't figure out in the film. Does any of you guys have an answer for that?
I didn't look any of the stuff up. So
I feel like it's almost like a Pfizer Moderna type thing, where it's like a different brand. I know that's but it's like a different brand of super soldier serum. So you're going to get different.
Do you want the Hydra version? Do you want the Valentina version?
It's Pfizer Moderna, bro. It's a different type of serum that I think was a little more. There was a better chance of something crazy happening, and they thought he was dead. Like, he was in that thing. And they assumed he wasn't coming back, and so they must have scrapped the project early on. I think that in itself is interesting.
Here's the reason I ask. Because he has the ability of touch and foresight, which makes him a mutant. Which makes him a mutant. He's a super... And the comparison of him being stronger than any Avenger, even a god, it's a little startling. Once he gets the serum going and he becomes the Sentry at the the climax of the film where he is in the battle mode. It's just really interesting though, because as a super soldier, Bucky doesn't have that. Red Guardian doesn't have that. Chris Evans as Captain America never had that ability, and it kind of pushes along the boundary of super soldier into super soldier mutant, which makes him a telepath in some ways. And I didn't really deep dive too much in the Sentry before the show, but I believe that there's a lot of context there that can be unraveled. But I think this is a character, if they set him up correctly, we could see a lot more of the Sentry down the way. I could see like Sentry and Adam Warlock going at it or something, some kind of crazy battle like that. So, but I think for me, seeing the Sentry and just his struggle, let's talk about the struggles of him. How did you feel Marvel handled that aspect of the film, dealing with the mental health aspect? I have my preconceived notions about it, but I want to hear, let's start with Jeremy and then we'll go to Austin. How did you feel how Marvel handled that aspect of Bob's mental health and stuff, and those really heavy topics?
Yeah, I like how whenever they were getting into it, they would darken the scene or darken up the thing to get you to realize that it wasn't something, happy-go-lucky. I don't think that they pushed too far so that it didn't become, so convoluted. but then every single time that there was a little bit of Bob there, you would see some type of light in the scene kind of just shine, because whether it come from a window or come from like just down on the floor, there would be a little bit of light. And I really like the light, the cinematography part of it, where you could actually follow it without really, or you were following it without even realizing what you were following, that was going back between the light and the dark.
You could follow a movie without even a word of dialogue, almost.
Yeah.
Without a word of dialogue, just because of those little glimmers of light through the window panes of the multiple rooms of his mind. Austin, how do you feel Marvel handled this kind of serious but poignant topic of mental health?
First of all, I think it's going to be interesting to see how obviously they've already nerfed him because he doesn't have his powers in that post-credit scene, but how they're going to continue to nerf him because his skill set is insane. I saw a couple people on Twitter mention maybe this was a very subtle way of dealing with something like a character who is bipolar. Again, we're dealing with a lot of mental health elements all throughout this film and things that people struggle with, anxiety. And I think that's an interesting way to look at Bob's character, both the light and the dark, and how he has these episodes but really doesn't remember things about these episodes. And I'm like, holy snap, like, yeah. Marvel was really going for it with some of these themes, and again, that's a testament to this director coming in and saying, "Hey, I think we can really approach these characters in a different light." And so I think they're bringing new dynamics to everyone. But for Bob, for Sentry, originally Stephen Yen, who voices Invincible,
yes,
in the Invincible series, he was in beef from this director. He was supposed to play Bob, and I'm like, oh my God. Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son, who plays Sentry, comes in and takes over this role, takes the same dialogue, and allegedly made it his own version of the character because this wasn't even written for him.
Wow.
So I think that is a phenomenal job by somebody to come in, take this character who was written for someone else, and now I couldn't see anyone else playing Bob. So that's a testament to him, man. It really is.
I remember seeing him interviewed. He was in the movie Warfare, and he played a character.
Yes,
was it Bob? He played Bob there too. And
it probably was. Yeah.
No, he said no. I remember him. He was interviewed by it, and he said, "I asked the producers when I did this, can you change the name?" And they're like, "No, because he's Bob in the comics." I think it's kind of funny. But I think that level of depth was just really appreciated by a lot of people, because I feel like society, specifically like where we are today in 2025, May 2025, I feel like a lot of people struggle with a lot of things. And I think the fact that Marvel senses that and they want to kind of hit those topics, because this is something you wouldn't see in a normal Marvel movie. You're going to be watching Fantastic Four, and that's going to be like, you're hearkening back to Avengers Infinity War era there. That's kind of like grandioso, right? But Thunderbolts is one of those like side filler movies that kind of has that wonderful little opportunity to kind of talk about that little niche, that little thing. And I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad that we got to be along the ride. I think it's also important too that we talk about Bob's journey into where he becomes dark. When he says the darkness is taking over, and it does take over, and we get to that climactic moment of the film, and we see basically his essence is consuming the entire island of Manhattan. And I was watching an interview. The art director was so inspired by, I guess he had recently went to Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And he had did a tour over there. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. This is long before the storyboards of Thunderbolts began. And he was inspired because on the streets of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when the A-bomb dropped, people vaporized on the streets. And there's what they call the shadow illusions of people. That's a shadow of people where they were vaporized, ionized, at the impact zone of the atomic bomb. And if you Google it, if you Google Hiroshima shadow impact, you'll see all these little pictures along the streets of people literally that were sitting on the street, and they're vaporized and their shadow is pushed back. And it's just like, well, he was so inspired by that. He wanted to make that visual effect for the Thunderbolts. And, I mean, wow. Using something that happened in the natural world, albeit I don't even know if an atomic bomb is natural, because, I don't know. I don't think we were meant to even make the atomic bomb, but I don't know. Anyway, it just the fact, though, his darkness is able to send somebody like, I was really like hearkening back because I knew about that interview going into it before I watched that. And it was just so touching that he was inspired artistically by those shadows along the streets and when he was on that tour. But anyway, let's talk about the rooms really quick. I think each room, each character had their own room of hell, is the way I would call it. Like Yelena had hers, and we all know it was the moment where she had to kind of fake out one of her friends or something and get him killed. Classmates. And it was part of her test. And then, of course, we know John Walker, his wife, his leaving and stuff like that. Everybody had their own hell, but Bob's hell was a little bit deeper. And he's like, this is the most quiet room in here. And it was just a room of his father yelling at him. Yeah. It's just, that's hard. That's a hard topic to talk about, man. Your father as a teenager just railing on you and slapping you and hitting you. And Marvel didn't hold back on any of that. They showed it. And I was like, holy cow, that's kind of dark. What were your thoughts on that, guys?
I think with one line that Red Guardian had in there, that they went through these rooms more than once trying to get out.
That's great.
Because when they were doing the scene with him flipping the sign around, and he looks at him, he says, "You hit me with that sign one more time." And then he gets hit, and then they go back in. So that, to me, told me that they had been going through these rooms to try to find the end just from that one little line.
You hit me with that sign one more time. Dude, I did not pick up on that.
I didn't either.
Dang, Jerry Bear.
That's good.
That is good.
That's good, yeah.
That's really good. I want to, before I go to Austin, John Poffenbarger over in the chat, I liked how they showed that everybody needs people around them and that they're not alone. It's pretty inspiring. Mm-hmm. And I think, John, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think that's the point of this movie, is we're, as human beings, designed to be connected, not isolated. And we are better in numbers than better as a singularity. And I think that's the point of the movie, is that we need friends. No matter what stage of life we're going through, we need somebody. I think that would be the takeaway. Austin, what is your takeaway on some of these dark rooms that we saw Bob have to go through? It was kind of heavy, wasn't it?
Well, first of all, I love what John said. I mean, that from the opening sequence where they all meet, they're having to lock arms and scoot themselves, Emperor's New Groove style, because that's what they do in Emperor's New Groove, scoot themselves up that. So obviously working together, can't do this alone. We have to do this with other people, trusting Ghost to save them, to actually come back, because they could have been vaporized at that moment, right? So you're automatically setting up those themes to pay off later on. And yeah, you're seeing some of these rooms play out, man. I mean, this is, especially Yelena's, about as dark and tragic as it gets. I had someone ask me, our aunt Joe Marcia asked, can Emma watch this movie? Emma's very young. She's barely a teenager. And it's like,
I don't know.
That's young. I mean, when it says PG-13, I think this movie is an example of, I would look at a 13 and up kid.
Yeah,
right.
There's topics in that's actually funny, not funny, but very interesting that you say that. You think about what is Emma, 12? She 12?
I think she's 12. She's very close to being a full-on teen.
I don't think somebody at that age could cognitively. Now I could be wrong. I mean, we have intelligent kids these days. As I shall say
That's
that
true.
and leave that. But I think the topics and just the stuff that's covered with the level of abuse. Let's just say it. The abuse and the bullying, albeit from your own parents. That's the one place you don't want to be bullied from. But that is kind of the sublying theme of the culture of the film is, even though we are designed to be connected, even the ones that we love the most are the ones that hurt us the deepest.
Yeah.
And that sucks. And that's one of the things. And when Alex, I remember when the credits rolled, she looked at me last night. We were over at one of those eat and dine in places, and she said, "My God, that was so deep. I loved it, and I forgot where I was for 2 hours and 20 minutes." And I'm like,
"Oh wow!"
And she I just noticed her, because usually when they're Marvel movies, she's kind of looking, she's checked her phone or she's like that. This whole time, because Alex suffers with a little bit of mental illness, and she has some things that she has to go through. And I know this film resonated with her on such a level because of just some of the things that she's had to go through in her personal life. And I know there's people in the chat right now that have went through some stuff. And it's movies like this, I think, that kind of shine that light on exactly what it is and just say it for what it is. If it's shining a light, it's being, it's a beautiful thing when you're talking about it and you're opening up an opportunity for a discussion to take place. That's the important thing. And I think here's the cool thing about it. I think a film like The Thunderbolts, I'm going to say this, and this may sound extremely crazy and cliche, but I think a film like Thunderbolts may actually save a life because of the way that they're discussing and talking about mental health in a way that it needs to be brought out. And it's a cool thing, and I can't stress that enough. And I think the Thunderbolts got that right. I think the director and the artistry and the cinematographer and just the writing, I think everything in this movie came together. Is it perfect? No. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this movie lands, and it lands pretty hard. It lands.
It does.
I would, although we love Red Hulk in this household, in the Burke household, we are Hulk fans, definitely would rate this higher than Captain America: Brave New World, for sure.
Oh, me too.
For sure.
Me too. I look, and I'm not saying this movie's perfect either. I think when you look at, if you don't go deep into the character work, the overarching story is like a conventional superhero overarching story. It's a group of guys and girls that have to get together, form a team, go after this guy. But ultimately, Thunderbolts is one of those movies that builds but doesn't crescendo. It doesn't have this crazy thing that happens at the end, and the overarching story is one that I could say has been done over and over in superhero movies. That's just the case. But this is one of those films that's more about the journey rather than the destination. And I think the journey is one that's impactful. It's interesting. It gave me a similar feeling to when I watched Guardians of the Galaxy for the first time. Very different type of movie, but it's that I didn't know I could care this much about
this bunch. Yeah.
Yelena and Red Guardian. I didn't know I could care this much about Groot and Rocket Raccoon, but these movies, they made me. And so that's impressive.
And John Poffenbacher with another beautiful quote. When I look at you, Yelena, I don't see your mistakes. When he said that before.
Come on.
What child?
So good.
What child in their right mind, or student or pupil or anybody, whether you're a class teacher, it doesn't matter. What kid or young adult would not want to hear that from an adult?
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we all screw up. I know I have.
Yes.
I have screwed the pooch more times. Well, not the pooch. That sounds kind of weird. But I have made a lot
I've
of
screwed
follies.
plenty of pooches.
No, you have, and it's really weird. You need to get off your OnlyFans account on that.
I have a problem. Sorry, guys. Move on.
Yeah, onlypooch.com, but / the Burkinator. But it's so weird. But as we're coming to a close in this, you can kind of see though what we're talking about into the heavy themes and the topics of the film, and I'm just so delighted that there's such a fresh take on something that was a film that we didn't know we needed, and now after we watched it, it's a film that we know that we just truly can get around and get behind on. And Austin, Jeremy, I know you took some notes. Did you have some questions or some things in the movie that you wanted to address before we wrap this up?
I did. Paralleling this one with the first Avengers film, You had them all kind of coming together, same way that this one did. And I like how they took Yelena and made her like the Scarlet Witch as far as being the heart of the team. Because now, mind you, in the first film, Scarlet Witch wasn't the heart of the team, but as the Avengers progressed on, she was the one that kind of kept them all glued together. They kind of pointed it to her in this film, Yelena. And I think she has gone above her sister at this point now. Because, you know, she's dealing with a bunch of characters that were so much more complex mentally, whatnot, than the original Avengers. I mean, yeah, you know, Black Widow had to deal with gods and you know, Tony Stark and stuff like that, but they weren't, you know, this messed up group. Like, they were willing to work together. So I think looking at it as like, you know, an Avengers side thing, I think it was really good to see how there's a lot of parallels in there, you know, the same similar characters. And when they're doing the main fight, I was worried going into this that they were going to have them do some cheesy way to beat Bob or Sentry. Yeah. And, you know, just like they were going to come in, or that they were going to have to get saved by someone bigger. And I'm glad that they went the route that they did and allowed them to stand on their own feet and build them as characters. And I think that's going to help this film go forward.
Word. Yeah, true that. Yeah, that's great.
New Avengers.
That was really good. And I think, too, we need to talk about the two things before we wrap this show up. Did you have anything else, Jeremy? Is there any of your notes that you did?
I just wrote down, because this is a later iteration of the Thunderbolts from the comic books. They originally started way back in 96.
Yep.
By Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley. Their original first appearance was Incredible Hulk 449.
449, yep.
Yeah, so they were actually originally villains that masqueraded as heroes.
Yep.
Because the Avengers were dead. Yeah.
Yep.
So they it's just, but this is, I think, like the third or fourth iteration that they're kind of basing this movie on.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I think, too, with that said, there's a couple of things that we do need to talk about. One is the ramifications of them now being called the New Avengers. And the one-liner in there, what Sam Wilson didn't approve the design because it's copyright. So my question to you guys, do you feel like the Avengers, this iteration, as they are called, the New Avengers, I don't think it's going to last. I don't think it's going to, I think it may just fizzle out by the next movie. By the time we get to Doomsday, you guys are not the Avengers. Here's the Avengers. And you guys are just the backup or the cleanup crew. I don't know how they're going to do it. It just doesn't seem official. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I think the two Avengers teams will become one Avengers team, and they're going to have to. Maybe that is not a complaint I have with this movie, but it does kind of bum me out. Like, before we got the Guardians meeting the Avengers, we got two Guardians movies, okay? Two Guardians movies. We only get one Thunderbolts movie. And I know we've seen these characters before, but I kind of wanted one more outing of them as a team before Doomsday. It's like Marvel's got something really good, and now we're going straight into Doomsday. So it almost bums me out that Doomsday is in 1 year as opposed to maybe 2 years, so we get something else with them in it. But I understand, and I know eventually it's going to all conjoin and combine, because they're all going to have to come together to take on Robert Downey Jr.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Doomsday is definitely going to be insane on every scale.
Oh,
and you know, is it Russo brothers, right? The Russo brothers are coming back. Yeah.
The Russos directed the post-credit scene. This one, Thunderbolts post-credit scene.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I do like the branding of the Avengers. I do like the new A, the A with the little line that goes through. I kind of like, that's kind of sharp. That looks kind of cool. I like that.
Bucky's outfit is phenomenal.
The red and black, dude.
Oh my God.
It kind of looks like Hydra. Oh. You know, it's kind of got a little bit of Hydra vibes to it, bro.
Love it.
Oh yeah, I kind of dig it. Well, all their except for Red Guardian and his jumpsuit with his Tide patch and his Wheaties.
His Tide.
God. We get sponsorships. I want my picture on the Wheaties box. This is crazy. Oh my gosh.
What kind of serum did you get?
If you guys are really curious in knowing, Wheaties did produce 1,000 limited edition boxes with
I
that
need one.
picture of the Thunderbolts. Well, they're like $250, but it was a limited release, limited quantity, and nobody knew about it until the film was launched out. They did it for a limited time, and now they're like selling on eBay for $250 a box.
Wow.
A box. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good. We do have one more bit of cleanup to talk about before we wrap this thing up, and that is that amazing spacecraft entering the orbit at the end. We alluded to it at the beginning of the show. I think we're going to talk about it right now. As we know, coming up in just a couple months, the Fantastic Four makes their official re-entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're not talking about the ones that were produced in the early 2000s. We're talking about the new iteration of the Fantastic Four. It's interesting, though, because now correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I get this is what's happening in the Fantastic Four timeline is an alternate branch timeline, like in the TVA type stuff.
Yeah, TVA stuff.
And something is going to happen at the end of that film where they're going to come in and either go through a time rip or a portal or something, and they're going to enter our timeline. This is a huge spoiler here, guys. So, what was your take when the vessel rolled over and you saw that 4 on the side? Was you like, oh, okay, now it's getting real. Now we got mutants, we got Fantastic Four, and now we've got the entire MCU together as it should be. That was my first take. So how did you guys feel when you saw that 4 on the rollover on the spacecraft?
I was guessing before it even came just from the design, because it's almost a Jack Kirby rip.
It does look Jack Kirby-ish. It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good pull, man.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then when it rotated, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
What do you think, man? You think they're setting it up right?
Can I tell you my theory?
I love when you do that. Yes, you can do that.
Can you tell me?
Please.
I think Galactus eats their planet and everyone dies.
Except those 4.
Except for the Fantastic Four.
And Doctor Doom.
That's my theory. Yep.
Well,
do you think Doctor Doom will be in that Fantastic Four film?
I think he's going to make an appearance, whether it be a post-credit scene. He's gonna be in it somehow. And I was rewatching the Fantastic Four trailer the other day, and there's a line, I can't remember exactly what the line is, but someone says something along the lines of, "How are you going to stop him?" And Mr. Fantastic kind of gives him a look. He's like, "I don't know," and that's like, they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose. I think the Fantastic Four will lose. I think this is a Rogue One situation.
A Rogue One situation.
Wow. When the planet dies. Yep. I think the only people making it out are our 4 heroes, and everyone on that planet is dead.
Well, I hope it's 5, but that's okay.
Yeah,
5, yeah, that's true. And the baby.
I was going to say.
Well, we know.
I hope it's going to be 5.
We know the Surfer will survive, but it would not make sense for this iteration of the Fantastic Four not to have a Victor Von Doom in that timeline, because Victor Von Doom worked with Reed Richards to develop the very shuttle that goes into space. They were cohorts in the beginning, and something happened. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Victor Doom got his powers from the same cosmic rays as the rest of the Fantastic Four. Did he get his powers from that?
It's interesting. Could this?
Austin's wheels are turning, man.
God, man, they're turning, because the planet dying. Obviously, that's gonna mess with the heads. Talk about
my head's already hurting from just even
where they are going to be mentally in Doomsday if their planet dies is pure devastation, and we have to prevent this from happening on another Earth. Like, we can't let this happen again. Okay, so that's interesting. But if Doom is on that planet and somehow survives this as well, then maybe this sets him off on his path. His Earth also dies, because that's his Earth, and that's maybe why we get Doomsday to start with.
Wouldn't it be wild if there's an end scene credit at the end of Fantastic Four where all hell has broken loose and the Fantastic Four are on their way out of the galaxy to try to get out of here, and it focuses in on RDJ trying to figure out a way for him to escape.
Oh, dude.
Come on.
Oh, I would pass out in that theater.
Oh, dude.
I would pass out. Oh my God. Well, because if he got his powers in space as well, which we know he did in the comics, then he's got some form of spaceship to leave the planet also.
Well, he helped build the spaceship. He was part of the space program. Yeah.
But he ain't going with them, so he's got to be on his own.
He's got his own agenda, I think. Yeah, no, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Pop Xers? That's right. Whew. Yeah, drop you. What do you think?
I'm not trying to hype this film up, though.
Yeah. Is there going to be multiple Doctor Doom variants, says Bradley. Bradley Pooper. I
love that.
You know why, Bradley? You might not be too far off the truth there.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. I mean, it would be very feasible and plausible to see the TVA, multiple variants, and some form of that make an appearance in probably the Doomsday version.
They could even come into play to save Doom.
Yeah, because the Fantastic Four takes place on a whole different. Yeah. What did you just say, Jer Bear?
Said they could even be the ones that come into play to save Doom. He could be, the TVA could come in and say, "Hey, you're a central being. We got to take you because, you can't die," type thing, like they did with Deadpool.
You're essential to the timeline.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
That's cool.
We're going to end right there. That's a good one to end on, guys.
Great.
What the frick? My head's hurting right now. I need to go take a freaking Valium. That's crazy. I just can't with you guys. This is why I love doing Pop X, man. We get to sit here for an hour and just geek out on stuff that we love doing. That's great. Austin Burke, what are you doing? What are some of your future plans? What is some new projects you got going on you want to talk about? Go for it.
Man, I'm watching so many things. I'm getting pumped for the new Mission Impossible. I'm getting pumped for the summer lineup looks to be insane. I want to go watch Sinners again. There's been a lot of good stuff lately. So good, man. So there's a lot to get fired up about, but man, we've got a cram-packed summer with pop culture, not just in the movie space, but with TV shows as well, with The Last of Us finale coming in a couple of weeks. I'm fired up to be doing what I'm doing right now, man. It's pretty awesome.
It is awesome. And, just to circle back really quick, by the way, the end of Daredevil, Born Again. I know that we did, remember, that was our last episode. We talked about Daredevil. Oh, my God. Yeah, the last episode. Awesome.
So many things
John
that can work with.
John Bernthal. Just Red. Just the way he says that. It's just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Daddy. God, give it to me. It's just amazing. Freaking love John Bernthal.
Oh, yeah, me too, man.
Turns me on.
I'm excited for that season 2.
I am too, man.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be better.
It's going to be great. It really is. But you're also doing the sports thing. You're still doing the sports thing on TikTok, right? Austin?
Yeah, man. I covered. I'm a psychopath. I covered the NFL draft on my TikTok, and it was great. Man. The TikTok page.
The whole draft?
Yeah, the whole draft. My TikTok Steelers page is doing significantly better than my TikTok movie page.
Get out of here.
I'm focused on that right now, man. That's where my wheels
bro.
Did
you see? Look what Jeremy's for. Look at that, man.
Yes, Jeremy.
Did you know Jer Bear was a Steelers fan? He's a Steelers fan, bro.
Dude, I knew he was, but I didn't even realize what shirt he was wearing.
We are the Triangle of Terror in this chat.
I love it, dude.
This is great.
I love it. This
is awesome. It is awesome. And so find him at Austin Burke on YouTube, The Burkinator on Instagram and everywhere else. And also, what is the name of your sports channel? Is it Burke? What's it called?
It's Blitzburg, and then Burke.
Blitzburg
Burke. That's
nice.
That's
it's not Pittsburgh.
Page,
it's Blitzburg.
It's Blitzburg, baby, because Pittsburgh Burke was already.
You know what? You and Jeremy need to go to watch a game and get some Permane brothers. Just do it.
Oh, come on, man!
Come on.
I went to 2, and I went to 3 games last year. So if y'all ever want to go, let me know.
Oh my God! Well, Jeremy,
I've only ever been to 2 Lions games. That's it.
Really? Oh,
And
if
both
the Steelers play
times
the
they.
Lions?
Well, no,
I'm
it
coming to you,
was
Jeremy.
Steelers versus 49ers both times, and both times
wow,
Lions
okay.
lost.
Wow. Bradley says, when is movie mode coming back?
Ooh, yeah, we're working on that. I'm getting some guests lined up as we speak.
Movie
so
mode.
we're working on that, man. Myself and the Flick Pick, we've got the return episode dropping over the next couple of weeks. So
Nice.
Get hyped. Get
Sounds
hyped for
great. And Jerry Berry, where can folks find you? You're on Twitch here not too long from now, right?
Yeah, probably take a small break in between this and then get started every night. We're well over 2,400 shows.
It's insane.
that. Beast.
Yeah, it is very insane.
And you've been streaming since 2016 consecutively every single night.
2018.
I'm sorry, 2018.
Sorry, yeah, 2018.
I mean, my God. I mean, it's
crazy.
just, okay.
Yeah.
You're insane. You know that, right? At Jeremy Stoltz Creations, twitch.tv/Jeremy Stoltz Creations. Make sure you check
And
him
then
out.
just Jeremy Stoltz everywhere else.
That's it. And you can find me at Joseph Burke Arts all over Instagram. I'm like a venereal disease. I'm usually everywhere all at once. You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Closing thoughts on Thunderbolts, guys. Let's do our official score rating. I know Austin's, so we're going to go ahead and start with Austin, Jeremy, and then I'll end. What's your official score? 1 of 100. Let's go, Austin Burke.
I went initially a 7.8. I think just because I'm in a good mood, I'm going to round that out to a solid 8 out of 10 tonight. 'Cause
Are
I'm
you
feeling good.
serious?
Yeah, man.
That's nice.
Really good movie.
Okay, Jeremy, where are you land on that?
Well, Austin stole my thunder, so I don't want to. I don't want to talk anymore.
Wow.
No, I
Wow.
actually I came in giving it a 78. Just for not that I thought that the film was going to be, lower, but I want to see if they do more with this film, it'll get a much higher rating as I go on. If they build off of what they got. But after talking in here, I was going to go with an 81 as my final score.
Okay. Chat, what is your score? Before I give you mine, I want to hear from you guys. What is your score if you went out and saw Thunderbolts over the weekend? From 1 to 100, where would you land? And you can use Darth Baca gives it an 8 out of 10. Bradley's a 9.5. That's insane, Bradley. Let's go.
Bradley loving himself some.
And I'm going to hop on the bandwagon. I'm going to do it. I gave it a 79 on Thursday night when I saw this movie twice already. On Thursday night, I was like, man, that's a solid 79. Because I'm thinking, I was born in 1979, so 79, that's a pretty high number.
That's a good number.
But after seeing my wife's reaction, and someone who is not into this as much as the three of us or those in chat, just seeing her reaction and hearing our conversation tonight, I got to go 8.0. I got to give it that solid 8 out of 10. It's a great job. Great score. We didn't even talk about the score of this film, but that there's some themes in there. I was like, man, that sounded really good. And just genuinely enjoyed the whole film. So let us know. See, Dragon says 9 out of 10. Absolutely amazing. I'm bad at ratings, so I can only rate it if I get you. 8 out of 10 from Day. I got you, Dave. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that's joined us tonight in the chat. You guys have been awesome, keeping that conversation going over in there. You guys are Team PopX. We love you guys so much. Thanks for listening and subscribing. And if you don't mind, before you end tonight, click on that little like button. That helps us with the YouTube algorithms. And if you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. It would help us out with the YouTube algorithms as we're just trying to get up and intimate and personal with the algorithm and the AI bots here at Google YouTube. With that said, you guys, thank you guys for joining me tonight on the panel. I appreciate you guys so much. And until 151, we'll see you soon.
151.
Well, I mean, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere anytime soon.
I can't believe you named the team after your Pee Wee League.
Oh, here you go.
Thunderbolts.
Full Mother Russia. All right. You guys have an amazing rest of your night. From Austin, Jeremy, and myself. You guys having a great time. We'll see you soon, and take care of yourself.
From everyone at PopXCast, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that notification bell so you know when we go live next. Drop us an email, popxcast@gmail.com. Throw us up a like on Instagram and all those other social media outlets at PopXCast. Until next time.